Afri has a H index of 27, has 1 US patent, and published over 40 scientific papers in many high-impact journals. She is currently one of the top 50 authors in SINTA and leading several funded research projects, including 2 international collaboration projects. Today, Dr. Afri will be sharing with us some research tips on how she published in high-impact factor journals, after which we will have an interview segment, and she will address some questions from the audience. So do indicate the questions you might have into the Q&A panel, and we will address that towards the end of the session. So thank you for joining us again, and I'll pass the time over to our special guest, Dr. Afriyanti. Over to you, Dr. Afri.
Thank you, Julie. Can you see my slide? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I guess we can start. Hello, everyone. Very good morning to all the guests and participants. Thank you for sparing your precious time to join this webinar. As we know, we have a lot of webinar about scientific writing. I hope today's event will give you another perspective on scientific publications, especially choosing the research topic and journal for high-impact publications. As requested by organizer, I will keep it short, within 20 minutes. Before we discuss about our topic today, let's hear some of the hard truth about scientific publications. First, readers will judge us by our writing. No matter how good our work is, they will judge us by how well we write it. Secondly, no matter how impressive our work is, if the work is not documented, it is the same as non-existent. A third one, everyone gets rejections, and it is okay. So don't take it personally. In fact, we can learn something from that rejections. And next, in research, no project is ever complete. So we need to know when to stop, when to move on. And the last one, whether we like it or not, if we work as a faculty or researcher, we need publications to advance our career. The first topic that we covered today is how do we choose a research topic. This might be irrelevant to those who already have their research topic. However, we cannot work on the same specific topic for the rest of our career. So we need to try new things. Sometimes, for some reasons, we also need to redirect our research directions. So how do we choose a research topic? There are several factors that we need to consider. First, it should be academically interesting. So it should attract the attention of the scientific community. This leads us to the next point. It should be useful to advance the knowledge in a particular field. Such contribution should be significant. The next thing is it should be new and innovative. I think this is quite straightforward. To put it simply, we should not repeat what others have done. And the next thing are the resources. It could be the methodologies, whether we have the required setup, equipment, facilities, or even the skill to do a particular experiment. Let's say we don't have facilities. Do we have funding to get those facilities? Okay. After we choose a topic that meet the previous criteria, the next thing is we need to make sure the work has an impact. To make an impact, the work needs to get published and widely read. So what kind of work that can make an impact? The work should be relevant, significant, and timely. So we need to find the right balance between significant and timeliness to get a high quality work. So we don't want others to report the same work as we do. So if that happens, so our work is no longer new and significant. So we have to be good and fast at the same time. Besides that, the writing need to be carefully prepared. The most important rule is just to simply is just by using a simple and straightforward language. Don't make it difficult for the readers to understand and appreciate our work. So how can we get a good research topic? How do we make sure the topic is relevant, significant, and timely? The answer is by we have to do literature review. By doing a literature review, we can locate a gap on a particular topic. For example, researcher 1 did method A, researcher B did method C. So we can know that nobody is doing method B yet. So it sounds very simple. We will look into that later. Then we can also learn and identify the important theories and methodologies. By doing a good literature review, we can frame our research questions correctly, which will help us to in writing a good paper. Yeah. I think most of us have done a literature review before. I believe everyone know how to do it. We can go to database and type in some keywords. We can adjust the publisher or document type. For instance, we just want to look for a review paper that published in the last 3 years. So this is the most common method. Another method is to look for particular authors. If we want to know what is the latest trend in one specific field, we can check the latest publication from someone that is highly respected in that field. The following method is using citations. So how are we going to do this? So we go to one particular paper in a database, then check the article that have cited that particular paper. So here is an example of a paper that uses a battery and manganese and carbon. This paper has been cited 41 times. Then we check the paper that have cited this paper. So for this one, they use similar materials, but for different applications. So this is to remove nitrogen oxide. Okay, and this one, the same applications, but different materials. And this one is completely different, yeah, in terms of materials and applications, but they use the theory that is proposed in this paper, which is the additions on nanoparticle. Another example of using the same materials but different applications, like this one, they use manganese, but for mechanical and tribological property. Yeah. From here, we can see that it lends to another materials for another applications, which is similar to this one as well. Yeah. And then it leads to, from this one, it leads to another material, yeah, for various applications. So what we can do here, we can find a research gap for our research topic. For example, can I use these materials for these applications? Has anybody do it? Yeah. So this is how we identify a research gap and hopefully get a new research topic by using a citation network. So where do we do our literature search? So we can make use of database. Yeah, there are several database. Yeah. Since this event is organized by Web of Science, so we can use Web of Science. Or if we don't have subscriptions to Web of Science, we can use Scopus. Let's say we don't have both, then use Google Scholars. Yeah, Google Scholars is free for everyone. And then while doing a literature search, it is crucial to document our search. We do not want to continue looking and reading papers without documenting it. Make use of reference managers such as EndNote to keep track whatever we have downloaded and read from the internet. Okay. Next, we will look into how our writing can make an impact. But before that, let's look into what is a scientific paper. It is an organized description of hypotheses, data, and conclusions intended to instruct and engage the reader. Yeah. The purpose of our paper should not only present the data, it should formulate and test the hypothesis and teach the conclusions to others, right? So there is a significant difference between writing a paper and writing a report. In the lab report, the aspect of relevancy, significance, and timeliness are not really necessary. We care the most about data and discussions. While writing a paper, these three aspects are crucial, like relevancy, significance, and timeliness. So please always remember to point out these three aspects. So in these presentations, I will not cover everything about scientific writing. I will just give some brief idea about several aspects that is relevant to our topic today. So we have our data. We know our science is new, relevant, and significant. And then how are we going to start the writing? So I always suggest to start with a big picture. Write an outline which shows the organizations of the research, and then pull all the graph and group them and think about the story. How are we going to tell this graph to our reader? And then start the outline early. If we do it that way, we can know in advance what kind of data is missing or what kind of data that doesn't make sense. So we can save time. After that, we can have several scenarios. How are we going to tell this graph? Then what we can do next is to pick the best combinations of hypotheses, objective, and data that are relevant, significant, and timely. Then we can start writing. So assume now we have our manuscript ready for submissions. Even better, we should start thinking about the target journal when we start writing. So why the target journal is important? Because it helps us to maximize the impact of publications. Then how do we choose a suitable target journal? Is it the journal with the highest impact factor? Not necessarily. It should be the journal that will best reach our target audience so that we can maximize the impact of our work. There are several things that we can check before deciding whether a particular journal is the best suitable journal. First, check the scope of the journal. So this is important because one of the reasons for rejections is simply because the paper is beyond the scope of the journal. Secondly, we may look through our references. So if we notice some particular journals keep appearing in our references, then that journal can be our target journal. Thirdly, let's say we have decided several target journals. The next step is to find more information about those journals. Look at the technical requirements, word counts, figures, open access. Make sure whether whatever we write falls into those requirements. Next, read the paper that are published in the journal. We need to have an idea about the writing style, the image, and data quality that are accepted in the journals, and compare it to whatever we have. Yeah. Finally, let's say we got rejections. If the editors and reviewer gave some comments and suggestions, it is better not to ignore them. Yeah, look through the comments and improve the quality of the manuscript. Sometimes they to transfer the submissions to another journal. We may check the journals and see whether it is a good suggestions or not. So now we have several target journals. How do we know which one is good? Which one is bad? There are several criteria to determine whether the journal is good. Yeah. First, the journal is under reputable publisher and has a solid editorial board. So how do we know this? How do we know this? Check the website, cross-check with Google, make sure the journal is not under predatory journal. Yep. And check the track record of the editor. Second, the journal should be internationally accredited and indexed by a major database. For example, indexed by Web of Science or Scopus. Third, it should be a peer-reviewed journal because we need experts to check our work. Okay. We have to be very careful if the journal is not a peer-reviewed journal. Next one, relatively good impact factor. Yeah, paper published in the journal with a high impact factor tend to have high quality and receive more attention. More people will read the paper, and it tends to get more citations. The next thing we need to check who has published their work in that journal. If we see some big names publish their work there, it can be a good sign. And we may also consider whether our work is more suitable for a specific audience or a broader one. The last thing is we need to consider, if we consider submitting our manuscript into open access journal, then the rule of thumb is only to pay after acceptance. Okay. So now, talking about acceptance, what kind of paper that can get an acceptance? There are two primary criteria. General readability. On the quality of science, we have the scope of the journals, and then novelty. Yeah, it should provide new advances to the field. And then methodology, whether the methodology is technically correct and complete. The data, whether the data is sufficient and scientifically correct. The last thing is references. So this is according to my own experience. It may not necessarily true. Yeah, if we want our paper to get accepted in the high impact journal, try to read and refer to some recent paper that published in that journals. It might help. Yeah. The second criteria is general readability. First one, clarity. Just use a simple and straightforward language. And then the novelty need to be pointed out clearly. So don't give a vague statement. Be confident, be specific when writing the novelty. The results need to be complete. Yeah. The results need to be complete. Every arguments and claim need to be supported, either by the data or by the literature. Lastly, the figure. Yeah. Okay. Don't be lazy. Yeah. Prepare the figure using a good software as good as possible. Then come to the last part of this presentation, citations. Right? The current scientific community has achieved a lot of things because of the progress made by previous researchers. So Isaac Newton say, we can see further by standing on the shoulder of giants. So the giant here is the previous researcher that have made contributions. So we can make discoveries, insight, and progress due to these people. So citation is a form of acknowledgements to the previous researchers. And then what kind of work that tend to have high citations. So if you aspire to be one of the highly cited researchers in your field, you might consider to work on the following things. First, instrumental work of a new field. Yeah, for example, develop new theories, new method, or new equipment. Having high performance materials or high performance device is excellent. Yeah, but there is no guarantee someone will report a better materials or a better device on the next day. So it's better to go for a new method or new theory. And then show some creativity. Yeah, for example, solve a problem with a simple way that nobody thinks about it before. So be original, be creative. And then the third one, famous corresponding authors. So for example, if we do our research with a Nobel laureate, yeah, no matter what we do, people will read our work. And then news coverage also helps in getting citations, so more people know about our work. However, news to be in the news coverage, we have at least to be one of these three things. So that's all for me. If I can suggest a few things, first is just to read more, and then know when to stop, and then be open to new ideas and possibilities. Don't do everything by yourself. Work in a team. And lastly, we tend to procrastinate from time to time. So work through it. And thank you. So how do I go from here?
Okay, thanks, Dr. Afri. I think Dennis will have to pass to me.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Afri, for the very good sharing. I think it's invaluable tips that you are sharing with the fellow researchers on the line. So I especially like the sharing on using a citation network, such as the Web of Science, to explore the relationship between different papers. I think for this to work well, the database, like the Web of Science, needs to have a very comprehensive indexing policy when it comes to the articles it indexes. That means indexing all references within all the articles. So with that, then that ensures the robustness of that network. Okay, so I'm sure the audience has a lot of questions for you after your presentation. But before we go into the audience Q&A segment, I would like to have a quick conversation with you on your experience so far. Okay? So Dr. You have published about 9 highly cited papers in Web of Science. So these papers are papers that receive enough citations to place them in the top 1% based on citation, top 1% of their academic fields based on a normalized publication year and field. So this is a great accomplishment, so congratulations. So this journey could not have been easy, right? Could you share with the audience which is the most important strategy out of all the ones that you shared in your presentation that helped you to achieve this success?
Thank you. I think we covered some of the strategy during the presentations. The most important key strategy is really to understand deeply and widely about what you are working on. Yeah, so you know what has been done, what has not been done, what is next, and what is the future. So to get a highly cited paper, like I say, it is crucial to make the science relevant to the field, significance in terms of contributions, and get published at the perfect timing. So, and of course, choose the journals that can maximize the impact of your publications. So it may not be the journal with the highest impact factor or even a nature journals, but it should be a journal that will best reach your target audience.
I see. So you mentioned that researchers need to maximize the impact of their publication. So I'm assuming this refers to choosing a journal that gives your paper the potential platform to receive all these citations. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on this screen, I want to share something with you. So on this screen, I'm showing you a snapshot of a database that we have called Journal Citation Reports. It is the home of the journal impact factor. Okay, so if you see a lot of journals homepages, especially the major ones, high impact ones, you would see that they have indicated the impact factor next to the journal title. That impact factor actually comes from journal citation. So this database gives you detailed information about the quality of the journal, who are its readers and contributors, and also gives you an idea of the journal performing, how is it performing against the other journals in that specific area. So would a tool like this be useful for researchers like yourself to have at your fingertips to maximize this impact that you're referring to?
I think this can be a good tool to have. Yeah. It seems very easy to use.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So my next question to you is actually, we always hear researchers telling us that it is very difficult to get published in high impact Q1 Web of Science journals. Okay, but in your case, actually 72% of your papers are published in Q1 journals. So how did you choose your research topics that will be attractive to these high impact journals?
Well, to be honest, half of those Q1 journal were published during my PhD. During those years, my topic was kind of decided by my PhD advisor. But I do learn a few things during those years, like is the topic relevant to the field? Will anybody care about my topics? Is it the right time to do this? And then will I be the first one to address and solve the problem? This is important because we don't want to repeat what others have done.
I see. That's very good advice. And it also sounds like you have a very good mentor. And in your opinion, having a good mentor and staying ahead of the competition is extremely important. So how do you continue to stay ahead of the competition now? And how do you stay abreast of the field? Is there any tools that you currently use?
This is a very good question. I don't think I'm ahead of competition right now. My productivity is at the lowest at the moment, actually. But to answer your question, basically, I always make time to check the latest paper at least once in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just to see what is the latest trend and see what I can do with that. I use database to check the latest paper. I also subscribe to particular topics, so I will receive email from time to time that inform me the latest published paper in that particular topic.
That's very interesting. It's very similar to how I keep abreast of all the K-pop stars that I'm interested in. Okay, so thanks for sharing that. So getting on those lists, making sure that you sign up for alerts, those are very important tips. And I think it's very important for researchers to take on this habit that you have. Thank you. So can you elaborate also on how having a good mentor, like the one that you had during your PhD, helped you in your early career?
Having a good mentor and supervisor is very important. Without the help of a good supervisor who has a lot of experience in that particular area, it is tough to do a proper research. Good supervisor not only show us how to conduct a proper research, write a paper, or even winning a research grant, but they also teach other soft skills such as networking or presentation skill, or even how to argue scientifically.
So based on all these benefits of having this good mentor, what are some of the qualities you would look for, or you would suggest the audience to look for when they're choosing a mentor or supervisor?
I think someone that has expertise in the field that I'm working on, and someone that care about my career and personal development, and then someone that I can have an open and honest discussion with, and perhaps someone that can introduce me to a bigger network.
So you will do some background checks before
yes, I have to do that.
Okay, so from actually your list of all your publications, you have published review papers that are also highly cited. So in your opinion, what are the benefits of publishing a review paper?
When we write a review, it kind of forces us to understand the topic deeply and widely, which is the key to stay relevant, significant, and timely in the field that we are working on. So it is also a service to the scientific community. By writing a review, we can clarify the state of the knowledge, identify the research gap, and future research. It can also help to advance the career. So it shows that we already know enough about this particular field.
So that's publishing the review paper. What about reading the review paper? Does that actually help you in also knowing more about the field? And if so, how would you identify some of these good quality, high quality review papers to read?
Review paper helps us to summarize the topic, so we can save a lot of time by reading it. It also provide a big picture of a particular topic, so it helps us to identify the research gap, the current and the future trends, so we can choose our research topic wisely. And good quality review paper usually can be found in the high impact journals, because the high impact journals tend to have higher standard of acceptance. So the quality of the review paper that is published in the high impact journals tends to be better.
I see. So you brought a very interesting point. Like, if you want to be able to easily identify these good quality review papers. And earlier on, you mentioned about Web of Science being a potential place where you explore the citation network. So if you want to easily find these review papers, I guess if the database allows you to quickly filter the document types, things like articles versus review papers, that will definitely save a lot of time for fellow researchers like yourself. Am I right?
Yeah.
Thank you. So then what about writing a good review paper? I know writing a research article itself is already quite challenging. And now if we want to explore writing a good review paper, what are some of the tips that you can share with the readers?
I think we may need another 30 minutes if we want to go the process in the process. But the most important thing is to choose a good topic. Like in general, it should be something that we and readers are interested to know further. The topic should not be reviewed recently. Yeah. So it should be timely and relevant as well. The next thing is to prepare the outline. So discuss the most relevant paper, especially the recent published one. So make use of database and reference manager to organize the paper. When writing, don't only summarize, discuss them. We need to analyze, interpret, and provide an insight. So it will help the reader to understand better.
Oh, very, very good tip. But I think the overarching theme between a research article and writing a review paper is quite similar. Getting that important good topic, selecting that right topic, framing that right topic for your paper. Yeah. So all your research publications are done with collaborators, so like co-authors. So why is it that having a good team of collaborators like the ones that you have an important strategy to publishing impactful research?
I always believe that if we work in the team, we can go further and faster. So it is impossible to do everything by ourselves, and we may not know everything about the problem. So having a good teammate will give us some suggestions and correct us if we do things wrongly. The tricky part is having a good team. So if the team is not solid, then we will go even slower than working by ourselves.
So do you have any tips to share on how you identify these potential team members? What do you look for in a good teammate?
I will look at the expertise, whether we can complement each other's skill. Next thing, I'll see whether the person is a nice person to work with. Do we have the same vision? Yeah. Can we work well in the team? I think that's it.
I see. Then how do you going through all those different management courses that we've done in the past, they always say that working in a team can be challenging. There are phases of ups and downs. So how do you work successfully in your team?
I think the most important thing is the communication. Everyone should have the same objective and target. We need to listen more, being respectful, and most importantly, keep everyone updated with whatever progress that we are working on.
See. So tools like EndNote, where you're able to share your references, comes in very handy because when you share your resources, you're able to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
So as you were building your teams, how did you build this network so that you have a good line to these good collaborators?
Most of my network is built conventionally. Yeah, I got to know them while attending the same school, working in the same department, or by attending scientific events such as conference. If there is a need, I can ask mutual friends to introduce me to someone whom I want to have a network with.
So you mentioned conferences. Are conferences a good avenue to build network?
Yes, yes.
Then do you see a difference between attending an international conference versus a national conference, and what is the difference?
The differences between national and international conferences are, of course, first the registrations and traveling fees. So international conferences are where we can find the latest and future development in the field that we are working on. If we are lucky, we can attend a lecture from Nobel laureates and some big name in our research area. While attending the national conferences is more like to network regionally and to know what are the things that people in the regions are currently working on. So I personally think it is good to attend both from time to time. Not consistent, but time to time.
So it looks like that to you there is a value to attending both. So there's a you need to strike a balance between both. But you see, imply that for international conferences, it gives you more opportunity to extend that research network for collaboration. But in current times, especially this year, okay, traveling for conferences becomes very limited or even non-existent. Actually, we've all been working from home since beginning of the year. And conferences have actually gone virtual. So the interaction that you liked during those international conferences might be lacking. Do you have any suggestions for early career researchers to expand their network of collaborators given these challenging times?
My suggestion is to be more proactive in reaching out to the existing network and see whether we can collaborate. Send an email to ex-classmate or ex-colleague and see whether we can do something together. You can also reach out to the colleagues from different departments but in the same university, so you don't have to travel when you need to meet them.
I see. I think in my previous conversations with other researchers, I think some of them also highlighted that finding out who has been citing your work and who has been citing your organization work can also be a potential of trying to broaden that network. Do you agree?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to share with you a tool on the screen. This is our database called Insights. So it is very useful to help fellow researchers like yourself to identify impactful researchers, organizations, and this information can be used for you to evaluate the speakers when you're selecting these conferences to attend. But this tool can also help you to identify potential collaborators for your research. So do you think having this tool will be useful, helpful in these times?
Yeah, I think that will help.
Good to hear. So on the screen here, there's a QR code. If anybody in the audience wants to have a quick look, do scan that QR code to find out for more information. So I see that you have created, so on the screen here, you have created your researcher profile on Publons, but you also have a profile on Cinta. So why do you maintain both profiles?
Having a Cinta profile is compulsory, so I have to do it. I can't remember exactly why I create a Publons profile. I think it's because it showcased and verified how many peer review I have done over the years. At first, it's just for personal record, but now I realize it can be used for other things as well.
I see. So did you see any impact after you have your profile on a platform like Publons, which showcases both your research publications, like the ones on the screen here, as well as your peer review work?
I noticed I've received more invitations to do a peer review in the high impact journal after I setting up my Publons profile. So when I left Singapore 2 years ago, I thought it was over. So this journal won't ask me to review for them anymore. So apparently it is not the case. So I still receive invitations to do peer review in the high impact journals until today. Sometimes it can be too many of them, and I have to reject the invitations.
Wow. So you've become too popular.
Not really popular.
Yeah, but this is a recognition of the work that you have done as well. Because if you don't showcase your work somewhere, especially on an international platform, you will not be able to reach that global network that you want to attract when it comes to collaborations, right? So speaking of peer review, okay, do you think it is important for researchers to do peer review work? Why?
It's first thing you can it's kind of service to you are giving back to the community. You people help you to review before, and then it's time for you to review. And then the second thing, you get a tips, advanced tip that somebody is working on this field, so you kind of know where the next research directions will be going.
I see. I think it's, you talk about learning about new tips. I think it's very important to also know when you learn the new tips, make sure you don't copy that new tip, right? It's about
that's not
right?
true.
Yeah. Okay. So currently here on Publons, we have this capacity building e-learning platform called Publons Academy. So this is a kind of e-learning where it teaches early career researchers how to do proper peer review. So there's 10 modules, they go through the modules and they have an opportunity to have mentorship by experienced peer reviewers. So do you think a curriculum like this within your organization, for example, or other academic organizations will be useful in helping some of these young researchers write better papers?
Yes. I think always good to learn more.
So in doing early career, did anybody teach you how to do peer review?
Again?
Did anybody teach you how to do peer review in your early career?
And so this is what my PhD advisor do. So when she do a peer review, she will ask me to do a peer review as well. And then after I finish, then she shows me hers and I shows mine. Then she comment about it and she gives some comments about it. So that's how I learn.
I see. So it sounds very similar to this Publons Academy where you have that mentorship, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I have a final question for you before we move on to the Q&A segment. I think everybody's eager to go into the Q&A segment. So since moving back to Indonesia, what were some of the observable differences between the publishing environments you were in before and now?
One particular thing is the tendency to publish in proceeding instead of a journals. And then we also tend to focus more on the quantity instead of quality. However, within the last 2 years, I have seen more interest in to publish in the high quality journals like Q1 journals, which is a very good sign. And I am quite optimistic with the progress so far.
So if in the event that the focus on quantity continues, how will this affect your future work and in terms of maintaining visibility globally?
I think it is a very good question. I think I need to find a balance between both. At one side, I need funding to run my lab. On the other side, I have this idealism. But I need to be realistic here and find a balance. But like I said, the recent trend is quite promising. people are aiming for Q1 journals now. So I think we'll be fine. Yeah.
Thank you for taking this time to have this conversation with me. I enjoy it a lot. I think we can continue speaking for the next hour, but I think I will pass the opportunity over to the audience. And at this point, I will pass the time over to my colleague Yu Sing, who will take us through the audience Q&A segment. So he is the account manager for Singapore, Indonesia, and Philippines, and also a fellow researcher like yourself, Dr. Afri. And I believe he has picked out a few questions from the audience. But due to the time limitations, we do apologize if we are unable to get to your question. However, we will try to have a reply to you via email in the days following the event. All right, so over to you, DS.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks, Afri. The conversation is very interesting, and there are really many questions that are coming in. And as Julian has mentioned, we do apologize that we cannot go through all of them. So I will actually select some of them, and I will kind of consolidate a few of the questions that keep coming up. So that there are a few, quite a number of questions on the question of novelty and how ensure that your work is novel and is attractive to the editors, because what is attractive to you may not necessarily be what they are looking out for. So what are some of the tips to align this type of misalignment between yourself and journals?
Like I said, check the scope first, and then once you know the scope and see whether whatever you have is the relevant, significant, and timely. Yeah. Regarding whether the novelty, you need to check on database. Has anybody do the same exact topic before? And then when writing, you should be you need to be very specific in stating the novelty. So don't give a vague statement. If you are the first one to do it, then say it. Yeah, no need to be being an Asians, we tend to feel ourselves low compared to whatever race. Yeah. So when write something, be confident, be specific when you say when you discuss about the novelty in your paper. And in the cover letter, you need to mention again. Yeah.
Right. Understood. When you mention about the fact that we tend, as Asians, we tend to be a bit shy about our achievements. There is an interesting question from one of the audience that actually say that they actually ask your experience, like, do you actually face any discrimination? Sending manuscripts from a developing country, for example. So I don't know whether you have personally faced it, and what are some of the experiences that you can share with the audience?
I think getting this, they won't say we get discriminated for sure, but but what I can suggest is that I think early career researchers will find more barrier to publish paper in the high impact journal, no matter which country you are from. So the strategy is to publish more, start lower first, and keep increasing to aim for higher and higher over the time. So they see when you send a manuscript, they will check your track record. So the track record won't say which country you are from. So I think it is nice to build up your capacities slower but consistent and continue. I think that's I can suggest. Yeah.
Right, and this kind of relates to what you mentioned in your presentation, whereby as having a career as a researcher, you have to expect your work to be rejected and then somehow move on to either a different journal or to improve your work. So would that be part of the suggestion to the audience as well?
Can you repeat again?
No, I was referring to the first few slides of your talk.
Okay.
That you will get rejected. So it is expected.
Yeah, it is expected. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
So I guess my personal take, if I'm allowed to, would be to understand that this is actually part and parcel of being a researcher. So as you go along in your career, you will experience all these things, but push on. It is possible for you to succeed. It is possible to get into high impact applications. Do not get disappointed or overly disappointed.
Yeah, I think practice make better. So you have to continue to work on, and I try new thing. Is one way doesn't work. Try new directions. Find a better collaborator. Yeah, like I say, don't work by yourself. Find a bigger team so you can strengthen the quality of the manuscript.
Right. This actually relates to a related question. There are a few on collaborations. I think chat with Julin, you did mention to reach out to your colleagues, try to leverage conferences. There are questions around, like, if you are a very junior researcher, then how do you initiate collaboration from other very high ranked institutions or very well-known researchers? Do you have any tips on that?
My first tip, just try first. If like send an email, just be confident. If you don't hear anything, then you go like how do I say this? So let's say you know someone, some big persons that know that person, so you contact that big persons to help you to introduce you to that big names that you want to work with.
Right. Julin, do you have kind of any tips on top of what Afri has mentioned? Maybe some of your tools may be able to help to detect some of these networks?
Yeah, I was about to say that when you send an invitation to collaborate to a collaborator, most importantly is you want to save time for them to try and do some background check on who you are in terms of what you have published before, what you've reviewed before. So I think like Publons, if you create a profile for you on Publons, something international, available to public to view, having that profile listed on your cover letter so that it's easily available to be retrieved. I think that is one tip that I can share with the audience. So accessibility to your information.
Right. That's good. Thank you for contributing to that. So following collaboration, we also have seen quite a number of questions relating to open access and predatory journals. So there are kind of questions around how do you avoid problematic journals? Are there some of the tips? I think it will be for you, Afri and Julin, if you want to chime in. And the second part of it is, what are the advantages for paying the OA fees, and if you don't pay, is there any disadvantage to your career?
Oh, okay. The question is for me. Okay. I think in order to avoid predatory journals, you can check the bell list. Yeah. I think everybody should know about this. In the bell list, they provide the list of predatory journal that we should avoid. And then regarding the open access journal, I think it will increase the feasibility of your work, yeah, but it costs you more. So if you have funding for that, you can try. But my suggestion is that always choose. You need to think whether the journal will increase, will best reach the target audience. So there is no use of paying so many dollars, but the journals, but your audience may not reach you well. Yeah, I think.
And I think to add on, with regards to the predatory journals, I think making sure you are aware of the various types of databases out there that index journals, and the differences between these databases is very important. So, for example, Web of Science and Journal Citation Reports have very, very strict selection criteria for journals before they get indexed. So that is already one aspect that you should consider when looking at databases, which helps you to pick journals, making sure that they are able to filter out most of, if not all of these predatory or misbehaving journals. That's my addition.
Right. So I think it's good that you mentioned that the Web of Science has a strict criteria. And one, I would like to add that the list of the index journals is actually available freely online on what we call the master journal list. So even if you don't have a subscription to the Web of Science, you can see what are the titles that are there on the free website. So you might want to check that out. Some of the participants were actually asking about this. A check of time, we 1 minute left, right? Do you want to take another question or jump into the conclusion? What's your preference here?
Dr. Afri, up to you.
Well, we can take another question. One question. Yeah.
Last one. Yes. So this actually relates to the meaning of being a researcher, because this actually is about the fact that as researchers, you always publish, and publishing is important. And how do you then kind of go beyond publishing to look at further impact of your work so that you don't get stuck in this mindset of wanting to publish?
I think find a way to, if we can commercialize it, then find a way to commercialize it. If not, then like reach a wider audience, like a wider populations, like high school students, or even someone that stay in the village. If the technology that you develop is useful for them, then you can provide for them for free, something like that. Yeah.
Right. And Julian, other than looking at publication data, do you have any other suggestions for our audience to kind of expand the impact that they are doing in their work?
I think for the tools that we have in Clarivate, looking at the patent output as well as life sciences output, those aspects would also help you to determine whether that gives you the impact that you're looking for. So I hope that helps.
Yes. So the final addition that I would say would be, beyond publishing, you do have a lot of other areas that you can generate impact. And that would be in terms of reviewing for other journals. That is one way of generating impact in your expertise. You can also coach future generations of early career researchers. So that is Publon's academy that Julian has briefly talked about. So this is a relevant question, and there is a lot to talk about it. But suffice to say that beyond publication being the main currency, there is still a lot more that can be done.
Yeah.
Right. So with this, I unfortunately have to close off the Q&A session. So, Julian, do you want to close off the meeting, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll do that. So sure. Thank you very much. So thanks DS, and thanks Dr. Afri for your time with us today. So I believe the audience, including myself, I've benefited a lot from your sharing. And I think most of the researchers on the line would feel energized and want to strive towards publishing more impactful research. So to the audience that joined us, so thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions around some of the tools that we've shared today, do contact Yuseng, DS, or myself. Okay, do take some time to fill out the survey form. Okay, so this is our contact details on the screen here. Okay, you have our email address. And if you want to reach out to Dr. Afri to collaborate, feel free to email her at this email on the screen here as well. So we look forward to sharing more new topics with you. Thanks, Dr. Afri. And I wish all of you well, stay safe, And thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.